Welcome to our tax planning webinar series, and thank you for joining us today. It's about that time of the year when we start planning for year-end and preparing for the upcoming tax filing season. We have put our heads together and come up with the top tax planning topics this year and created a webinar series for you. Today's webinar, we are going to be talking about Lifo considerations in regards to tax planning for dealerships. My name is Laurie Stiles. I'm a marketing coordinator with HHM CPAs, and I'm joined today by Chad Goodman. Thank you for joining us. Would you please introduce yourself?
Sure.
Yeah.
So my name is Chad Goodman. I'm a senior manager here in our dealership services group, and I work with groups of all sizes from one stores to many all the way across the U.S.
Awesome. Well, we can all agree that 2021 has been interesting and somewhat challenging year in the dealership industry as they have struggled with the new vehicle inventory. Dealerships who have elected and are maintaining Lifo reserves should begin planning and assessing the impact now. So let's go ahead and get started with our first question. What is Lifo, and where does Lifo fit into planning for upcoming taxes?
Great question. So Lifo stands for last in, first out. The purpose of Lifo is to allow taxpayers to match their current costs, reflecting price increases with inflation with the current revenue from comparable items, and they end up having a Lifo reserve on their balance sheet.
Awesome. So how did the pandemic and new vehicle shortage affect Lifo?
Great question. So due to government shutdowns, chip shortages, etc., there's been a significant reduction in the amount of inventory that's been shipped from the manufacturers to the dealerships. And recently, even we worked a couple buy-sell closings where they had one new Ford on one new Toyota on the lot. So it's pretty interesting times right now.
Wow. So if I'm a dealership, what should I be doing to prepare for potential year-end Lifo adjustments?
So now is a good time to look and estimate what you believe your year-end. I should say most clients are on new vehicle inventory Lifo. There are some that are on used and parts, but most is new vehicle inventory. So it's a good time to look at what you estimate your new vehicle inventory at year-end to be and estimate what your Lifo reserve will be. Once we have an idea of that, we'll kind of know how much recapture you might be facing. And when I say recapture, how much taxable income will be coming back in at year end, and then kind of start thinking about planning items.
Okay. So what are some tax planning considerations when facing Lifo recapture?
So right now, with tax law up in the air, and we anticipate tax rates will increase, it's important to analyze, are you better off to just recapture in 2021 and with the anticipation of higher tax rates in the future? So that is one item to look at. A second item could be entity conversion. There's some clients that have been taxed as a C corporation for a long time, and they've been thinking about making a S election. Now would be a good time to go ahead and recapture your entire Lifo reserve and convert to an S corporation.
Okay. So what would you tell a dealer who's considering electing off Lifo considerations?
So if you elect off Lifo, it allows you to recapture your reserve over a 4-year period. And when you do that, you're not eligible to elect back on Lifo for 5 years. So it is a planning item, but if you do, you need to know that you won't be able to just get back on Lifo right away, and it should be considered. So
okay. So there's some long-term effects.
Correct.
Okay. So are there any accounting method changes that you would recommend?
So there are a couple accounting method changes you could file via Form 3115, which would allow you to combine all of your inventory. It could be new, used, and parts. Should definitely take a look at it, but it's not a one-size-fits-all, but it is one option to look at. One other thing to keep in mind, the Treasury recently said they will be looking into Section 473 relief, which could provide relief for a lot of our clients that are on Lifo and anticipating Lifo recapture this year. So that'll be something just to keep our eyes on. Don't know if it will happen, but just definitely need to stay up to date on that as well. So
great. So besides Lifo, are there any other considerations when it comes to tax planning that dealers should be considering?
Yeah, so when they're looking at their tax planning, they should, 2021 is going to be an important year to look at acceleration of income and deductions with anticipated tax law change. That's one item you'll want to discuss with your tax advisor. Need to be paying attention to the employee retention tax credit, PPP round 1 and 2, depending on what you took advantage of. cost segregation opportunities if you build a new building or maybe remodeled a building during the year. It's always a good time to look at loan covenant calculations if you have those. And those are just a few items to keep in mind as the year closes.
Awesome. Well, it's some very valuable information. Thank you for taking time to share with us today. And thank you for joining us. If you have any questions about LIFO or any of the other items that we discussed, please do not hesitate to reach out to Chad or any of our accountants here at HHM or your favorite CPA. We would be happy to help. Thanks again.